City College of San Francisco could lose its accreditation by this time next year. It failed to meet enough of the Accrediting Commission's 14 recommended improvements. Earlier this week, against the wishes of faculty, the commission stripped the elected Board of Trustees of its authority and appointed a special trustee with unilateral powers. So, Nanette, I want to ask you, what does this latest move mean for City College?
Well, it means that the elected officials who had been in charge for the last year and trying to get the college back on its feet have officially failed, and they have been stripped of their power to do so. And now the state chancellor's office for community colleges has installed a special trustee. You can think of him as a czar of City College to make decisions unilaterally, and he's now in charge. They have 1 year to try to do it. Whether they will be able to do it is really unclear. I spoke to Bryce Harris, the state chancellor, yesterday, and he was quite unclear about this.
Well, what does it mean when we hear unilateral powers? Is it the power to hire, to fire?
It is the power to decide how money will be spent, to hire, to fire, for example, there's a commission, a committee at the college trying to pick a new permanent chancellor for the campus. They haven't had one in over a year. And this czar, Bob Agrella is his name, is able to say, all right, well, I want you folks on the committee to choose the chancellor, not the ones that the previous board has chosen, because he wants to direct it and make it fast. He says that decisions have been way too slow. And so he's going to go in and say, this is what we need to do. He has to, by next week, give the state a list of all the problems that it has and how he wants to solve them.
Is the credential that these young people that are in that school, not so young people, many of them, is this credential that is still accredited still going to be a good credential, or is this somehow tainted, and are they wasting their time and money?
Well, that's a great question, because everybody involved with this wants to remind people that the credential, whether it's an associate degree or a vocational certificate, are good for the time that the school is open and accredited. And so I went over to the registration line the other day to see, you know, how do students feel? How do you feel about, why are you enrolling in this school? And a lot of them said, well, I am here to withdraw. Some said, I'm here to hurry up and get the credentials as fast as I can during the last year that I can, because they're very worried about this.
And talk a little bit more about the people who will be infected or could be affected by this. I mean, presumably it's going to be disproportionately affecting low-income minority students.
That's right, because that's who mainly goes to City College, as well as older people who come back and want to, you know, get a new career or just take classes there, or people who learn English as a second language. So it's a really, it's very sad, and the people who, the students and faculty are actually opposed to the Accrediting Commission and trying to fight this thing, are, and some of them calling it a racist move. They've decided to attack the accreditors as opposed to digging in and trying to fix the college.
Has this ever happened before in California? A city college lost its accreditation, and what happened in that case?
Yeah, it happened to one public community college called Compton College near LA, and a neighboring community college district, I believe El Camino, absorbed that college because Compton lost its accreditation. It's no longer valid. So now, however, the El Camino Community College District is having accrediting problems as a result of having absorbed Compton. And
well, why is that? Because it was overcrowded and they couldn't handle the load?
It wasn't that it was money problems. It was that the financial issues and the management problems were primarily now the financial issues were so great at this college, which is much smaller than City College. And so now they're having problems. But what it says is that it is not a good idea, it's not a good bet for another district to come and try and take over City College, and that won't be happening. That's not a likely outcome, I'm told.
So what happens if City College of San Francisco does lose its accreditation? What happens to the 90,000 students? That's a lot of students.
It's a ton of students. And you know, yesterday I met with Bryce Harris, who is the state chancellor for this, and he had no idea. He said there will not be a college for these students to go to. And he said he's working really hard. The state is working really hard to try to save this. So that is not what they, hope will happen.
Is there anything in the state budget surplus that could come to the aid of this? Really, I mean, 75,000 students, this is not some insignificant part of the educational system of California. Is there anything in the state budget surplus that could be brought to bear on this, or is this just they're on their own?
It is not a question of how much money, although if they had all the money in the world, it might not be a problem. It's money management. So to give you an example, 125 people at City College have access to the payroll computer. So you can go in, if you're so inclined, and maybe give yourself a raise, or give somebody else a decrease and stuff. So that's the kind of money management. That's just a small example. They have like 9 campuses and dozens of smaller instructional sites, and they don't even know how much it costs to run them.
Well, I know that the college has until October 15th, right, to put forward an action plan. Is that right?
Well, not at this point. There's no more action plans available for them. They have to. What they're doing now is trying to get the accrediting commission to change its mind. They have time to do that, but they're losing at this point.
Don't want to leave you without talking about Jenna Napolitano, the other big education development today. She has been nominated to head the UC system. What's the reaction been? Because she's so far outside of academia.
Well, most people were quite surprised, but there's a certain giddiness. There's a thrill if you talk to everyone, including faculty and politicians, and there's this celebrity factor of hers. But I think if at every regents meeting, what you hear is the regents saying, all right, we've got to get more money, for example, from the federal government. We've got to tap into more research dollars. We need some connection there. Maybe Janet Napolitano knows her way around Washington and can fill in that gap.
Well, she certainly knows how to manage. She was with Homeland Security, and that was a big, sprawling agency to have to manage. Nanette, thank you very much.